Hey running half marathon runners, welcome back. It's George Anderson here with another little video on a subject I'm hoping is going to have some kind of positive impact on your training for the event. Not long to go now, we've got 7 more weeks of preparation before we hit the start line and we are good to go. So I want to talk to you today about a subject that is probably one of the most frequently asked about questions. It's got the potential to really massively impact your performance, and that is nutrition. I want to talk about that today because I've had a lot of questions over in the Facebook community and by email, and I know that it's something that runners really want to know. What's the best thing to do? There's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of kind of unknowns, and what's the best thing to do? Do I do this? Do I do that? So I'm going to cover all that off today, or at least give you a starting point so you can head off and start experimenting, which is really what this subject boils down to, kind of having a starting point and then getting some real life information back as to what works best for you. But first of all, I want to talk about very briefly about this phase of your training. You've got 7 weeks to go. You're far enough away from the excitement and that kind of anticipation that you were in when you first decided to start training for the running half. But you're not quite close enough to the end. So we're kind of in this middle zone here. So we're not getting pumped up by the end and we're not pumped up by the beginning. But this is the key. This is the absolute most important part of your training. It's where the hard miles are done. You're going to be coming into some of your longest long runs. It's absolutely essential that you maintain the motivation for the next few weeks. I think when we get to sort of 4 weeks to go, 3 weeks to go, it's a little easier. You can see the light at the end of the tunnel, but also you're feeling pretty fit there. You've done a lot of the training, the hard stuff's behind you, and you've just got the glory of the day to go. So this is the stage where you've got to stay absolutely focused. Really try to reconnect with why you're doing the half marathon in the first place. What is it for? Is it your first attempt at a half marathon? You're raising money for charity. Why is that charity important to you? How are you going to feel when you've completed the race? And if you've run a half marathon before, are you trying to beat your time? Is that the main objective with doing it this time? Is it focused on performing better? And what's that going to mean to you? So really try to keep a very close eye on your ultimate goal and the reason why you set that goal in the first place. And that's hopefully going to see you through the next few weeks of training before we get to the end. So as I said today, I want to talk about nutrition because it is such a huge topic. I'm not going to be covering absolutely everything in this video. I'll probably do another little piece in the Facebook group and kind of answer some individual questions on the subject. But really what I want to do is to settle your mind with some of the biggest questions around what to eat. And let's go through them. The ones that come up most commonly: what do I eat for breakfast? What do I eat on the day of the race? What do I eat during the race and all my long runs to fuel me through it? And what do I eat afterwards? So kind of break that down loosely to pre, during and post training and racing. Now let's talk about breakfast first of all, because it is the one. Let's say you're running in the morning, especially the long run at the weekend is probably going to be a morning run. What do you eat in the morning? Now, I want to first of all position the long run as being a mini race. Okay, think of it as an opportunity to practice your race day procedure. So if you're, when it comes to race day, you don't want to be asking yourself the question, well, what do I eat for breakfast this morning? Because the answer is exactly what you've been eating for all the long runs that have gone on the weeks prior to that. So start getting into this idea of experimenting, seeing what works for you. It might be porridge. That might be the best thing for you. It might be a full-on fry-up. That might be the best thing for you. It might be just having a slice of dry toast. If you find that you really struggle with eating anything beforehand, some dry toast a couple of hours before, and then you're good to go. Now, there isn't one-size-fits-all solution. So you do need a starting point. If you're looking for where to start, I'd probably go with something plain and carby, but with some protein and some, if you can, get some good nutrients in there as well. So something like porridge, but add in some nuts, you're getting those healthy fats in there as well. Add some, if you're having a green smoothie, if that's a possibility. So have with your porridge, next to it, have a green smoothie, just blitz up some, a really easy one is just some spinach with some apple and maybe some ginger in there as well, because it gives you a nice bit of tang. You barely even taste the greens, the spinach, but you're getting a massive hit of nutrients. Remember, you do have to fuel your body here. You have to give yourself enough nutrients to support the training you're doing, but at the same time, you don't want to be obsessing over it. So getting as many moments in the day where you are putting nutrients into your body is a good start. Breakfast, best place to start with that. So start off with whatever you're doing at the moment and see how can you incrementally make that a little bit better. If you're not having anything for breakfast at the moment and you can run and train and you feel fine, great. Bear in mind the race starts, it's 10 o'clock. So if you're used to going out running at 7 without anything to eat, that might be fine, but maybe start doing one of your long runs every now and then at 10 o'clock. See how you feel running on empty for that. People do it and they get on absolutely fine, but it isn't for everybody. So that's breakfast. And that kind of also takes into consideration what you eat in the lead up to the run, because the run is in the morning. And so you've got to think about how well can you digest food before you run. Some people have anything in the stomach, guaranteed you're going to get a stitch. So personally, I'm quite fortunate that I can eat just about anything and then go running and I feel fine. Not sure I'd do well off a massive roast dinner and then a run, but within limitations, I seem to be able to get away with most things, but you might not. So you've got to decide what's your strategy going to be, and now is the time to be working this out. Think of this next few weeks, as your laboratory, your experimental ground. During the race itself, again, massive opinions, variation in opinions on this. What do you eat during the race? Do you go with what's provided, which is energy gels, and there's going to be energy gels throughout the course? There'll be energy drinks. Are you going to train with those, or are you going to be more natural and try and do it without taking on high sugar supplement, high sugar energy bars and energy drinks? If you don't normally eat that food, and then you eat it during a race or during a long run, then it can again cause stomach upset. So you've got to consider these things and try them out. If you find that having a gel after 30-40 minutes really ramps up your energy and really gives you something to push on for the next 30-40 minutes, then that's the best thing for you to do. But don't feel that just because your mate's doing that you have to do that as well, because everybody does end up being different when it comes to the best way of fueling performance. After the race, let me go there, give you a little bit more substance with that. If you are looking at doing something, then you can there's two ways of looking at this. You can either decide to listen to your body and eat when you're hungry, or just before you feel like you're probably just at the beginning of getting a little bit peckish, or you feel like your energy levels just starting to dip. That's when you eat. That's listening to your body. Or you can say, right, every 40 minutes, I'm going to have 30 grams of carbs. That's a handful of Jelly Babies, it's an energy gel, it's a bottle of Lucozade, it's something that's going to give you instant energy. So you've got the two options. You either have a strategy or you listen, or your strategy is to listen to your body. And the more experience you have running, the easier it's going to be to do the latter. But it might give you a little bit of security if you start the process off by saying, well, every 30-40 minutes, I'm going to have something. And then you can work out if I'm doing a 2-hour marathon, half marathon, then I'm going to need to have 3 different eating points at 30 minutes, 60 minutes, and 90 minutes. Therefore, I need to have 2 gels. That means I need 6 gels, and you can work it out from there. But there's your starting point. Your long runs are probably going to get up to 90 minutes, 2 hours long, maybe beyond that. So there's a perfect opportunity for you to try these strategies out and see how you feel. That's so important. Don't go by what other people say or what the marketing people say. Go by how you feel and adapt from there. Now, after the run, on the day, the best thing about doing the running half marathon is there's a really good pork bap guy. I don't know what they call it. It's like a massive, like a hog roast. They put the apple sauce, massive bread roll. I die for that. So I think we're all the way around. It's the only time of year I have one of them. Well, that and the Nottingham half marathon anyway. So that's not the best thing for you to eat after a training session, after the race. Who cares? It doesn't matter. You've done the race. Unless you're training, the running half is a stepping stone for something else. But after a training run, it is important that you do a certain number of very simple, very specific things after you've run. Now, there is a lot of talk about this magic window of 30 to 60 minutes after a training session where you've got to get your carbs in, because that's where you're going to resupply your glycogen stores, which is the stored carbohydrates within your muscles. And there is a lot of truth in that. And actually, if you were to leave it a couple of hours, then you're probably not going to top the tanks right up there. Now, I'm not too fastidious about that, because if you're training every single day, yes, you want to be really making sure that happens. But if you're not, If you're doing a training session and you're resting the next day, you're probably going to be okay. You don't have to obsess over it. Certainly, you don't have to go to the lengths of having loads of really highly processed products just because you feel like you need to get something in within 30 to 60 minutes of finishing a run. Okay, so if it means you're not going to have something to eat for a couple of hours, but it's going to be good quality, then go for that. Once again, it comes down to your own personal preference. It comes down to what you feel you work best off. Some people find they cannot eat within an hour of running. That's fine. You'll find your way. You'll have something as soon as you're able to. But think about preparing food. If you're going to be finishing off a training session at home, that's easy enough because you'll have the fridge and you'll have the kitchen. You can cook and prepare yourself something. If you're going to be finishing at work after a training session, make sure you brought some good food in so you don't have to then come back hungry thinking, oh my goodness, what am I going to get to eat? And then you go to the staff canteen or the corner shop or something and there's just a load of crap there and it's not going to be the best thing to put in your body. But you're hungry, so you get it anyway. Okay, so think about getting quality carbohydrates. If possible, get as many nutrients as possible, so fruits, vegetables. I'm not a huge fan of people having loads and loads of gluten foods, like containing foods, like wheat in particular. But you know what? If you find that you don't have any problems at all, digestive problems or else with gluten, then if that's something you've just been doing, this isn't a nutrition seminar or anything, so you go with what you find is working at the moment. Personally, my preference is to at least experiment with reducing, not necessarily eliminating, but reducing the amount of gluten and wheat you have in your diet. That said, things like potatoes and rice and gluten-free pastas, these are all really easy things to prepare, especially if you're making them up the night before, having them cold the next day, ready for after you finish your training run. So that's the carbohydrates. Make sure you're getting plenty of good quality fats in your diet as well. Omega-3 fats, these are anti-inflammatory. So when you exercise is good for you, right? Yes, it is, but it also creates this inflammation in your body. It's just a natural response, and it will go down. But if you're eating a lot of sugar and a lot of omega-6 fatty acids, that's your vegetable oils, and you're not countering that with omega-3s, which is the anti-inflammatory fatty acids, then your body can start causing a few problems. It can start kind of pushing back against that. So we want to keep the omega-3s up. So get your oily fish in, get your chia seeds, and get your flax seeds, and get your walnuts in, get all these good sources of fatty acids, sardines, mackerel, tuna, salmon. These are all great sources. And if you think you struggle for getting this, you don't get enough of those kind of foods and you can't change that, then take a supplement. Take a basic oil supplement, a fish oil supplement, or flaxseed oil supplement if you are a vegetarian or vegan. So it's as simple as that. And of course a little bit of protein as well. If you're having something like some meat, some fish, some eggs, you're going to be getting some protein in from there as well as the good fats. But if you're, again, vegetarian or vegan, then go for things like beans, pulses, lentils that are going to, you have to eat a little bit more of that, but it's still going to give you lots of fiber, lots of nutrients, and you're going to get the protein in there as well. So that's post-run. It's not quite a snack. If you can finish it, you need to have some sort of a snack, then a piece of fruit and a handful of nuts. There you go. Maybe a packet of oat cakes with some peanut or almond butter slathered all over them, or even rice cakes with coconut oil slathered all over it, and a couple of bits of fruit. Some people even demonize fruit, so we shouldn't have fruit because it's full of sugar. Yes, it's got sugar in it, not very much, and it's packed with nutrients. After a training session, like I said, the glycogen response, you need that sugar in. It's going to go back to your legs, it's going to go back to your muscles, and it's going to be absorbed, and you're going to actually benefit from the sugars in the fruit. So if you haven't heard that fruit's bad for you, it isn't bad for you. Ignore anybody who says that. Lots of high fructose corn syrup, now that's bad for you, but we're not talking about that here. We're talking about real whole fruits, berries in particular. So knock yourself out with that stuff. So that's after the run. Now, all of this needs to be put in the context of real life. Okay, I could say, right, well, here's exactly what you need to have for breakfast. Here's exactly what you need to have for lunch. And here's exactly what you need to have for your dinner. And that's going to give you the right calories, the right macros, carbs, proteins, fats. It's going to give you all the nutrients you need. It's going to give you absolutely everything. You're going to be like a super athlete by eating this. But guess what? As soon as this theory collides with reality over here, nothing. Because you have to think about how your life is. And it's not a simple case of sitting down and having 3 really good quality meals every day. Or maybe it is. But for most people, certainly isn't for me, a case of doing that. You have stress. You have overwhelm. You have emotional eating. You have self-sabotage. You have parties, social occasions, people bringing in birthday cakes to the office, and you sitting there, well, I can't have that because I'm training for the Reading Half Marathon. I must sit here with my apple and kale smoothie. And you know what, you probably do that for some of the time, but not all of the time. So you've got to think about making this as something you can stick to and be balanced with and not obsessing over it. Think of training for the Reading Half Marathon as an experience. It's not just an experience when you get there, it's having an experience all the way. Having fun, growing as a person, developing as a person, so you feel like you're actually responding to these situations, and you don't feel guilt, you don't feel bad that you haven't been 100%. You don't feel bad, certainly, that you haven't been doing the same thing as everybody else is doing, or seems to be doing around you. And this is a great thing, and we've had this in the Facebook group as well. It's like people not necessarily wanting to post their splits, their times, and their progress, because there are some really good runners in the group, and really fast runners, and I'm really slow, or I'm only training this number of times a week, or I'm only 5 miles and everyone else seems to be at 10 miles. It doesn't matter. Try to enjoy this as the process that it is. With nutrition, you're an experiment of one. Go out there, create a starting point. If you're in any doubt, real, quality, whole foods are the best way forwards. Okay, forget about eliminating things. Forget about stigmatizing certain foods. Forget about being on this diet or that diet or being 100%. Find what works for you. If you're getting the right results and it's not too much effort, that's where you want to be. That's the sweet spot. Okay, well, like I say, I'll be doing a little bit more work on nutrition over in the Facebook group. I'll probably do a Q&A thread specifically for nutrition and just sit down one night and you can kind of get a conversation going. I'll do that probably next week. So make sure you're over in the Facebook group. Look for Reading Half Marathon or RHM17 and you should find it there. But for now, I hope that's been of some value to you. I'd love to hear your feedback. Drop me a line if you have any other specific questions, and or go over to the Facebook group, and I'll see you there. I'm George Anderson, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.